The planeswalkers we have today are not like the planeswalkers we had back in the day. Today, we have powerful mages and warriors, specialists of a certain type of magic, and force multipliers between the planes. Back then, they were the stuff of worship.
ZX Spider-Man Commodore 128 and 64. I hit the floor, I hit the shore. Got gaming skills from days of yore. I close the deck, computer rolls, playing till my hands are sore.
Welcome to Beef Snake Nerdcast. I'm Bolter, and I've had gremlins for the past 2 months. Sorry about that, folks. But I'm also too legit to quit, so we're back. We're talking about Magic the Gathering, and we're talking about the Plane of Dominaria. The Plane of Dominaria is an old plane, storied and scarred with the countless battles that it has seen over the centuries. In fact, this is my second Magic the Gathering video ever, and we're back talking about the Plane of Dominaria. I don't believe in coincidence, but it's kinda neat. While last time I was complaining about the elves of the plane, because what else are you supposed to do with them? Now I speak of a name. An old name. A name I've heard whispered in excitement at gaming tables when I was just a wee little lad. Serra. Or rather, the Church of Serra. Let me explain. Serra was a powerful planeswalker from Dominaria, centered in white mana philosophy, which is a whole thing in itself. She had a strong tie to the angels of the Plane of Dominaria. Serra herself will get her own video proper, she earned that much. But it's hard to talk about a faith without addressing the object of that faith. Now, it might sound a bit odd to modern-day Magic fans to think of characters like Chandra or Kaya as deities, but we need to keep in mind that planeswalkers back then were the stuff of legend. This was before an event called the Great Mending that changed planeswalkers forever. Serra predates the Great Mending by a lot, and she never meant to build a church, it just sort of happened. Okay, first things first, what is a planeswalker? A planeswalker was an individual in the multiverse of Magic the Gathering that is able to traverse the spaces between worlds. So you can jump from one plane to another. Traditionally, they are powerful warriors, sorcerers, or just interesting characters that have suffered a lot of trauma. They all carry something special called a Planeswalker Spark. Before the Great Mending, that meant that these people were these godlike entities of power and scope. They could warp reality, create pocket dimensions, and ruin worlds by blinking the wrong way. The Great Mending changed all that, and kind of brought them down to a more mundane level, where they're now just exceptional individuals. And believe you me, some planeswalkers did not take kindly to this power down. There is a very pissed off dragon out there that has spent decades of real world time trying to fix this mistake. But back on topic. Serra was one of these planeswalkers, and she had a habit of regularly summoning angels to assist her. That was her thing as far as magic powers went, and these angels were compelled to help the needy and stop the wicked. Just angel things. So imagine, you're some numpty farmer doing a hard day's work of tillin' and hoeing, quit your snickering, and then suddenly, bam, goblin bandit raid. They are about to murder you, your family, and burn down your farm when, just as suddenly, bam, a gorgeous blonde angel shows up, melts the goblins in holy light, and says, "Be not afraid," then flies off. Like, how do you respond to that? It's not hard to imagine a religion cropping up after encounters like that. And white mana is traditionally centered on community and faith, so church. In terms of geography, the center of worship took place in the Sholtun Empire, the forebear to modern-day Benalia, with the largest temple being in Eptir. These angels were eventually linked back to Serra, and were then referred to as Serra Angels, and the church became known as the Church of Serra. Go figure. Serra even decided to make a whole damn pocket dimension, because they could do that back then, to act as a surrogate heaven for her angels called Serra's Realm. Good person, not so good with names. But this is good old Dominaria, and unfortunately for literally everyone, the nightmare cyborg eugenics enjoyers began invading, and Urza was still a thing. Right, Urza. So, Urza was one of these pre-mending planeswalkers that was central to the plot of old-school Magic the Gathering, but if I call him a protagonist, people will literally get mad at me. Go ahead and leave me which atrocity is your favorite out of Urza's list of atrocities down in the comments, just for fun and context. Oh, who was that other group I was talking about? Oh, they're the Phyrexians, and a short synopsis would be a video in itself. All you need to know is that they are one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem, in Magic the Gathering history. More on that later. Right, Serra's Realm. That deserves a video too. Magic is complicated. Here's the short version of that, though. Urza ruins things, and the Church of Serra was thankfully in a good place to help the refugees that followed him out of the realm that he destroyed. Or at least led to the destruction. It was actually the Phyrexians. You can see why everyone I'm talking about is a problem except Serra? Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem if the Church of Serra was the state religion of the Kingdom of Benalia. But it wasn't. That was the Church of Angel Fire. And as far as Benalia was concerned, this weird pop-up religion had just doubled its numbers overnight. And they were not pleased about that. Now, contrary to all of history revolving around a church, the Church of Serra did not pull a crusade. Quite the opposite, actually. They gained more respect with the aid and relief they provided to Benalia itself during the first Phyrexian invasion, earning them both trust and more followers. The Church of Serra would actually survive the invasion, and to this day is a widespread faith across Dominaria, outlasting both the passing of Serra herself and a second Phyrexian invasion. Currently in the timeline, they exist as kind of a background element for Dominaria, helping the poor, assisting the downtrodden, providing food to the homeless, stuff churches are actually supposed to do. That being said, it doesn't mean that the churches they build, the physical structures, aren't gorgeous. The churches are these beautiful structures with round turreted roofs, held up by high arches and sporting gorgeous stained glass windows. In fact, they've only gotten more beautiful since the immigration from Serra's realm, now that the structures can literally float in the sky, which is something they did in the original realm that they brought to Dominaria. Want a bit of crossover fun? You can actually now play a game of D&D in Dominaria with, Planeshift Dominaria, and you can join the Church of Serra. So, what would that look like? Well, followers of the Saran faith are usually human or Aven, a type of bird person similar to Aarakocra, and they tend to be clerics, paladins, and monks of the more love and life variety. The Church of Serra is built on 4 virtues: art, discourse, freedom, and peace. So your character should reflect these in some way. Maybe your paladin loves to paint, or your monk enjoys spirited, good-natured debates. The Aven even have their own little sect in the church called the Order of the Ancestors, mixing Aven spirituality into the established faith. So maybe your bird boy is a member of that. Hell, maybe you have a bard, and they're super into the Song of One, a 1,000-verse song that is about Serra, her beliefs, and your character shows faith by being able to sing 1,000 verses verbatim off the top of his head. It's just something he's memorized. Whatever you build, they will have to answer to Serran Mother Superior Lyra Dawnbringer and her Order of Dawn. Lyra is an angel, and she is sworn to protect the church, the faithful, and all of Benalia, and she's been doing this since the first Phyrexian invasion, so you might want to stay on her good side. In closing, the Church of Serra really does carry on the legacy of Serra herself. Serra was selfless, kind, a true friend to the people around her. She may be gone, but what she stood for is held up by thousands of people across Dominaria, be they in the clergy or in the field. And I think it's really cool to see a church actually be chill and helpful to the masses, and not full of horrible acts, abuses of power, and rampant greed. I am, of course, referring to the Orzhov Syndicate. Thank you for listening to this sermon from Beef Snake Nerdcast. I have been your host, Bolter. If you are a true believer, please like and subscribe below, and do ring the bell to add your voice to the Song of One. You may find me on social medias, linked to down below, and I have also recently started a Patreon. Any donations would be most appreciated. Please tune in next time when I preach the word of Perforos, the Rosian god of the Forge. Until then, go in the light, my friends.